Hey there, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate you being here. So today we're going to be talking about Alien Encounters, or Legendary Encounters, which is one of my all-time favorite deck building games. So let's get into it. To set up the game, you first have to take the rulebook and look near the back, and it's going to be the third to the last page. It's got each of the 4 movies, and then what kind of decks you need to bring into them. So for example, if you wanted the 4th movie, first you need to grab the location, the appropriate objective cards, and then each deck has its own particular deck that's associated with it. For example, the 4th movie, this will be your starting location, as known or as stated in the top right hand corner, and then the rest of the deck will have the objectives 1, 2, and 3. Now, when you open the box, they have just a big pile of cards, and it's up to you to sort all these. The way to find which deck belongs to which, at the bottom of the card, it'll tell you right there. The name, the title of the objective, and then a dash and which objective number it is. So for example, if you're, well, this one's all shuffled up, so not a good example. But what you want to do is you want to find the location, and then also the starting deck, or the deck associated with it. For this one, on the top left-hand corner of the card, it'll have the symbol of the characters that are going to be associated with that particular deck. So at that point, the next thing you do is you deal out starting cards. So each character, or each player, sorry, will have 7 of these. They're called specialists. Basically, they produce money, as indicated by this little star in the bottom left-hand corner. And they will get 5 grunts, and the grunts will produce combat value, which is the little slashy denoted right there. So I have 5 of these, they have 7 of these, and then each character will pick each player will pick a character to start with, and these are example one of the characters. So the characters have a health value, and then if you want to play an easier version of the game, you can also give them the body armor value. And each character has a starting card, which is this guy right here. It always has cost 0, and that will go into the starting deck. So the deck size will be 13 cards total, and each player at the beginning of their turn will draw 6 cards. Oops, there we go, 6 cards, boop. All right, so anyway, next point, you want to take the deck that's associated with the particular move that you're gonna play. For example, this one is I think Wayland, and then take all the characters in that, shuffle them up, and then place them here, face down, and then you want to draw 1 face up. Now this will change based on player count. In a 4 and 5 player game, you're going to use every character. If you're playing a 2 to 3 player game, you're going to use 1 less character. And the character names are going to be up here. So it'll tell you exactly who it is. The top part will just give you like the flavor text of what the card is called. So in order to, well, I'll get to that later. So that's the starting setup. You also need to take all of your wounds or strikes, excuse me, and then shuffle them up. They all have the red background, and then it should say at the bottom of the card, strike deck. Oops, can you see that? There we go. So strike deck, shuffle those all up, and then place them face down over here on top of the section that says strike. And then you take all of your 1, 2, and 3 objectives, and then you put them face down here. You also have a hatchery deck. These are gonna be face up, that way you can see what they are. So there's face huggers, and there's a certain number of chest bursters, and they go here face up. Do not shuffle those, there's no point in it, because you're gonna have to be pulling those cards out manually as instructed. So the next bit is to take the drone deck, which is right here, and then at the bottom of the cards, it should say drone deck. This one's kind of hard to read. But you take these and then you shuffle these into each objective. So objective 1 should get 1 drone card shuffled in per number of players that are playing the game. Do the same thing for objective 2, and then do the same thing for objective 3. And that will get you your starting hive deck. And then the hive deck goes up here. And then last but not least, you have the sergeant cards. The sergeant cards will go over here. If it's your first game ever, I recommend playing the sergeant cards face up. If you're familiar with the game, these are supposed to be dealt face down. That way you cannot see what the symbols are in the top left-hand corner. The way to play the game is at the start of a player's turn, they will draw 1 card off the top of the hive deck and place it near the closest slot to the hive deck face down. That is going to be the hardest part to remember in the game, and trust me, people will mess that up. So try not to freak out too much when that happens, but you know, do what you can. From there, they will have their 6 cards in hand, and they can spend the stars as money to purchase the cards up here in the lineup. And the cost of the cards is going to be down in the right-hand corner. So this is how much each card will cost in star points or star power, however you want to call it, money, whatever. We usually just say money. And then they put the card in their discard pile unless if something states otherwise, and then move on with their turn. When you play cards, for example, all these cards will have in the top left-hand corner the set that they belong to or movie, and then underneath will be one of 5 different symbols, either a green fist, these red arrows, a yellow, I think it's instinct, and then a couple others are going to be a blue like targeting symbol, and then another one is going to be a black microchip. So, oh gosh, I don't remember if this particular deck has black microchips in it, but it is definitely one of the options. Yeah, this particular set doesn't. All right, so anyway, some of the abilities you can play will have, first of all, what they give, either money or combat. And then some of them will have additional effects, but they can only be triggered if you played a card before this one was played that matches that same symbol. That's why sergeants need to be shuffled face down, because sergeants can coordinate to another player one of these particular symbols. And that's another mechanic that's hugely useful, is the coordinate ability. So with coordinate, when you play a coordinate card, you play it during another player's turn, you give them the benefit of the card along with the symbol in the top left-hand corner, and then you lay it out in front of you to indicate that it's been played, and then you immediately draw a new card. You can only play, each player can only play one coordinate card on a player's turn, but multiple players can play coordinate on the same player. For example, in a 3-player game, one person can coordinate with another person, and if they have multiple coordinates, they cannot continue to coordinate, they only get the one. But if the other player who's also not playing, whose turn it is not, they can also play coordinate. So that third player can have 2 other coordinates on their turn at maximum. Coordinates are entirely optional. You can decide if you want to play it or not. It's up to the discretion of the player. At that point, they can do this in any order. It doesn't have to be spend money first, do slashies first, or do combat rather. The other thing they can do is to scan a room or attack a card that is face up. So for example, they can spend 4 attack power or 4 slashes to flip this card over, and this is an event. And this event will trigger based off whatever is said here. So do what this says, and then they can continue on with the turn. This then goes away, and there's a slot for discarded hazards and events. That is in the bottom right-hand corner. Let's say you moved on a little bit further in the game, and this comes out, start the next player's turn. This one comes out, start the next player's turn. This card will push these over. Let's say somebody spent 3 attack power to reveal this card. That's another event that will trigger. The start of the next player's turn, the next card will come out, and then this will fill in. This does not move down, because the only reason why these will continue to move forward is if a card coming out of the hive will push the other cards forward. Now, let's say a card makes it all the way to the end and gets pushed out into the combat zone. It is then flipped face up and is then dealt with. The way that is dealt with is it takes 4 combat to kill this character. And then at the end of the player's turn, after they're done playing cards and whatnot, then this card will attack all players. And the way it does so is each player, starting with the player whose turn it is, will draw a strike and do whatever it says. In this event, this deals 1 damage, and they take that 1 damage, and then they stick it underneath their character card, and then move on. So the next player will get another strike. This is 3. This has a different phase or shade, so this says that this strike cannot be healed, so this cannot be removed at any point. And then once everybody draws their strikes, you move on with the next player's turn. So at the end of the player's turn, they take all the cards they played and any cards that they did not play, and they stick it. They put them all together and then put them to the left of their deck into a discard pile, and then immediately draw a new hand of 6 cards. That will begin the next player's turn, where they will take a hive card, play it out, and then they will play the cards they want to, resolve strikes, and then they will discard their hand and then start the next round. So, and the game will continue on by a number of rounds. First off, pick who is going to be first player, and then go in a clockwise order. After that, you're basically trying to get through each of these objectives. Once the objective is complete, this card is removed, and then you go on to the next objective. Once the second objective is complete, you remove that, move on to the final objective. Once the final objective is completed, the players win the game. Now, the way the players lose the game is if players receive strike cards equal to their total health. Once the total health is met, that player is then removed from the game. Now, there's an off chance where a player might get a chest burster, which is this card. If a chest burster, well, first of all, when they receive a chest burster, it goes into their discard pile. Even if they don't have one, it's their first card in their discard. At that point, when their discard is then shuffled and they start the new deck, as soon as they draw that card, they're immediately taken out of the game. And when that happens, there's an alternate set of rules where they can then play an alien, and they can pick a different alien persona and play as that. If you want to make it to where players can continue to play the game, then I recommend doing that. Otherwise, if a player is outed of the game, then it's going to be really, really hard for the humans to continue to win at that point moving forward, so you might want to give a little bit of grace. So it's up to you guys how you want to play that. Furthermore, ideally you want to just have fun and really try to suit what's best for you. There are some other rules, which I'll get into here in a second, that you can alter to adjust the gameplay. Another option for play is the aliens. So if another player gets wiped out, typically from a chest burster, they can choose one of the alien personas that come with the base game. I think there's some expansions that might add to that. When they are an alien, on their turn, they will draw 6 cards out of the alien deck, and then at the end of their turn, they can discard any number of those cards and then draw up a new hand of 6. But there's no deck building elements, they just get these starting decks. Another optional game mode is Hidden Traitor element. So the base game has a number of good agenda cards, all which have a unique and pretty cool ability. And then it also has a number of evil agendas, which are also pretty gnarly. So the way it works is during the setup of the game, you take however many players there are, and then you shuffle that many good agendas. So for example, in a 3-player game, you'd take 3 good agenda cards, and then you take 1 evil agenda card, and then you'd shuffle these together, and then divvy them out to each player. Each player can pick an agenda, and then you take the 1 card, and then you secretly remove it from the game. Now each player can then look at their hidden agenda secretly and place it underneath their character card face down for no one else to see. Also during setup, there are a number of secrets revealed cards. So in a 3-player game, you'd also have 3 secrets revealed. During the setup, you're going to take the number of drones that you're going to place into each of the 3 objectives. For example, in a 3-player game, the normal thing to do would be to have 3 drones per objective, and then you would remove 3 drone cards from what should be shuffled into each of the objectives, and then you put a single secrets revealed. So for example, with 3 objectives, you're going to have, in a 3-player game, 9 drones. So remove 3 of those drone cards, shuffle in these 3 secret cards, and then in each objective, you shuffle in 3 cards randomly. When a secrets revealed card is going to be flipped face up and revealed, whoever's turn it was flipped this card up. They may then point to another player and say, hey, reveal whatever your secret agenda card is. Once that card is revealed, ta-da, then this goes into their discard pile and can be played as a regular card. And then game plays as normal. If there's a evil traitor, then they're trying to kill all the other players. As soon as the last player is killed off, then the traitor immediately wins, the game ends, and then basically the corporation will evacuate whomever out and then rescue them from the aliens. Whereas the regular players with the good agendas, they are trying to get rid of, or basically just trying to play the game as normal. If there's an evil traitor, the evil traitor can be attacked. Simply attack them, and then they're forced to draw a strike card. If that happens, then game pursues as normal. If the evil traitor is wiped out, then the other players are still trying to win the game. If there's an event where you're playing a lot of co-op games and you have a player who likes to quarterback or is an alpha gamer and tells the other players what to do, playing with a hidden traitor element, adding this to the game could really help, because in the hidden traitor type variant, you are having as little communication as possible. And that's on purpose, because you don't know if someone's trying to mess everybody over or if somebody's trying to help out. So anyway, that's all I've got. Hope you liked the video. I really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more board game videos, then please subscribe to the channel. Also, I recommend Dice Tower. Another good one is Shut Up and Sit Down, and another good YouTube channel is Watch It Played. So if you want to see other board game type content, those are good places to go look. But if you want to see other stuff that I'm interested, either artwork, dancing, video games, movies, shooting guns in real life, my reviews of those. But mainly I'm into politics, so if you want to see all that kind of stuff, then please subscribe and leave a comment on the video. Tell me what you thought and if you've ever played the game before. So that's all I've got. So for now, stay classy.